Welcome, fellow lovers of the weird and strange. This is Lance, your host of Legends of the Hidden Horde, where we explore the folklore behind the mythical creatures that stalk the dark corners of our globe. A huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. Your ears make these strange journeys possible. If you enjoy the show, please hit that subscribe button, leave me a quick review, and give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or X. Your support truly makes a difference. Now, let's dive into the next story. On the southern tip of Trinidad, where the Gulf of Paria meets the Columbus Channel, in the mangrove fingers of Icacos reach into the night, the land holds memories longer than any of us. Long before the French planters, before the African ships, before the Spanish and the British, this place was home to the Kalinago and the Lokono peoples. Their spirits still moved through the silk cotton trees, and through the lagoon water, and through the wind that knows every shape a living thing can take. The stories that came later did not erase those first voices. They settled into the soil beside them, layer upon layer, until the island's folklore became a single restless body. African, European, and Indigenous blood mixed in the same dark earth. It is into that layered night that episode 38 emerges, and the Lagahoo walks. They say the first sighting was near the old village of Lema in Icacos. A fisherman returning late from the mudflats heard the sound that still freezes blood along the southwestern coast. The slow, deliberate rattle of heavy iron chains being dragged across wet sand and gravel. Not the clean clink of a ship's anchor. Something older. Something that remembered the weight of the hold. When the fisherman raised his lamp, he saw a figure without a head, shoulders broad as a bull's, carrying a wooden coffin balanced across the stump of its neck. 3 candles burned on the coffin lid, their flames unnaturally still, even in the sea wind. A long chain was noosed around the creature's waist. The free end trailed behind, sometimes short, sometimes stretching impossibly far into the dark, as though the metal itself could grow. One of the figure's arms hung twisted the wrong way at the elbow, the hand facing backward. The fisherman did not wait to see more. He ran. Behind him, the candles never wavered, and the chains never stopped. That is the classic form, the one old people still describe when the rum is low and the night is long. But the Lagahoo is never only one thing. By day, it can walk among the living as a quiet man, often an older man who lives at the edge of the village, who knows a little too much about herbs and the turning of bones. Some call him an Obia man, who sold what remained of his soul for the gift of change. Others say he was never fully human to begin with. At night, the skin slips. The body becomes whatever it needs. A great black dog with eyes like wet coal. A horse whose hooves leave no print. A pig that roots in the cane fields with unnatural intelligence. A centaur shape. Human torso fused with the powerful body of a beast, or something smaller, a bush rat that squeezes through cracks no man could. It can swell from the size of a child to the height of a silk cotton tree in the space between one heartbeat and the next. It drinks blood and eats liver when it can find them. But it is not particular. Cattle, goats, the occasional careless traveler will do just fine. There are edge cases too, the stories that do not fit the clean moral frame. In one account from the deeper bush near the Ortoir, a Lagahoo was seen not as predator but as omen. It did not attack, it simply stood at the edge of a clearing with its coffin and its candles and waited. 3 days later, the oldest woman in the settlement died in her sleep. The coffin, the old people said, was already prepared for her. In another telling, recorded more recently in certain literary circles, the Lagahoos are not all malevolent. They are lonely. They wear the forms of local animals, not to hunt, but because their true shape, a white-eyed canine humanoid thing, is too strange for the living world to accept. They want only to walk among others without being driven out. The hunger that drives most of them is not always blood. Sometimes it is simply the hunger to belong. And then there is the poetry version, the one that refuses to stay in any coffin. An ageless wanderer who takes his shape from the wind itself, who has no master except his own restlessness and desire. That Lagahoo is less monster than mirror. The chains are the detail that return again and again. Some say they are the literal weight of the middle passage, the iron that once bound the ancestors, now worn by a creature that chose power over freedom. Others hear it in the rattle, the older colonial punishments. Men forced to drag chains through the cane for years until the sound became part of the landscape. The Lagahoo does not merely carry the chains, it has become the sound of them. Every night the island listens and remembers. To kill one is almost impossible and never clean. The old method required a stick soaked for 9 full days in holy water and holy oil. You must find the creature and beat it without pause while it cycles through every shape it has ever worn. Dog, horse, cat, pig, wild bull, then a sudden surge of black water that tries to drown you where you stand. Only when the last form collapses into the black mist does the thing end. Most who try do not live long enough to finish the 9 days. Most never even begin. There is a quieter protection. Place an open pair of scissors in the shape of a cross upon an open Bible at the head of the bed. Or if you are foolish enough to want to see without being seen, take the yampi, the thick mucus from the corner of a dog's eye, rub a little into your own eye and peer through a keyhole at midnight. The stories do not recommend this. The ones who try often find that the Lagahoo was already looking back. I tell you this not as mere entertainment alone. The Lagahoo is a Creole spirit, born of the collision of French Lugarhoo tales and West African ideas of the powerful, shape-changing science man. All of it walking on land that first belonged to the Kalinago and the Lokono. To speak of it without the layered truth is to flatten the very soil that grew the story. The first peoples of these islands knew that the world is full of beings that change, that the boundary between human and other is thin, that the forest and the night keep their own counsels. The later stories did not invent that knowledge. They answered it in the language of their own trauma and their own power. The Lagahoo teaches us that the most dangerous transformations are the ones we choose in the dark. Every society produces its own shapeshifters, people who wear one face by daylight and another when the lamps are low. Every empire leaves chains that outlive the hands that forged them. The creature's true horror is not that it can become a beast. It is that it began as one of us and decided the price of power was worth the loss of a single fixed self. In a future where identity is increasingly fluid, where technology lets us remake body and history and even memory at will, the Lagahoo stands as both warning and invitation. We will keep inventing new forms. The question is whether we will drag the old change behind us into every new shape, or whether we will finally learn to set them down. The land itself, older than any of our stories, still listens. It remembers the first peoples who walked it without chains. It remembers every bargain made in the dark, and it will decide in the end which of our transformations it allows to remain. That's it for the story of the Lagahoo. If you enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe button and give me a follow on social media. And if you hear change in the night near the southern coast, do not look too long through any keyhole. Some shapes, once seen, refuse to leave the eye. Until next time, keep your eyes open. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.